Hey, true believer, we haven't really talked much about what actually occurs in Ulysses, so we're going to finally start doing that in these forthcoming videos. In this video, I'm just going to talk about the three central characters of Ulysses. There are a lot of other characters, like, I won't talk about them actually, that are important too, but we need to focus on these central characters, these three, because I think Joyce goes more deeply into their brains than any other characters in the book. Other characters do have first-person narration, but these characters, he shows them more honestly than any other characters, and I think these are wonderful characters. They're amazing, and you're going to love them. So character number one is Stephen Dedalus, who showed up first in A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man. He also shows up in the fragment Stephen Hero, which I'm going to start reading soon. I've never read that, so I'm excited to check that out. This is a young character. In Ulysses, he's 22 years old. Now, when Joyce started writing Ulysses, he was 32 or so. So I don't think it's fair to say this is James Joyce, and I'll talk more about what that means later on. But this is a character who, he started out as being modeled on James Joyce, but he's very different, and there are some key changes that you're going to notice. So we'll talk more about that later on. But like Joyce, he's very educated, very intelligent. He knows a lot about languages, a lot about literature, Irish history, and history in general, and philosophy. He was raised Roman Catholic, but as he got a deeper education into the Greek classics, especially Plato, Aristotle, those really swayed him away from the church, and he changes a lot. By the time Ulysses starts, he's very intelligent, but he's going to be lacking a lot of life experience and a lot of the ability to connect with people. So you're going to see that he's kind of morbidly depressed in some ways. So that's where the book is going to start from. But as the book progresses, Joyce moves the focus onto his other characters. So let's look at those guys. Leopold Bloom, for my money, is the best character that Joyce created. I haven't read Finnegan's Wake as well as I should, so maybe I'll change my mind as I dive into that later on. But Ulysses really focuses on Leopold Bloom. He's based on Odysseus in a way, but he's not a warrior. He's not confrontational in any way. He's a very inoffensive Jewish man who's 38 years old, so he's an outsider in Dublin society, but he has a lot of friends, and he knows a lot of people in the book. So I think he's just one of the best characters in fiction, and you're gonna love him. Leopold Bloom has an unusual job. His job is to get advertisements and work with newspapers and help them get ads. So he goes and talks with a lot of businesses, and he knows a lot of people. That's essential to what he's doing throughout the book. But it allows him to get out of being in an office. If that was the character that Joyce had created, just sitting in an office all day, it wouldn't allow him to show all the different sides of Dublin and all the things that happen in a city in a typical day. So I think it was an interesting choice for a career, and I think it works. While Leopold Bloom is out rambling through the town, and he intersects with Stephen Dedalus in various ways, but they don't really meet till later on at the brothel scene in Circe. Now, while he's out and about in the town all day, his wife, Molly Bloom, who's about 5 years younger than him, I want to say she's 32, she has an affair with a man named Blazes Boylan. She's a singer, and Boylan is her concert manager. They're planning a concert tour. They're going to go traveling around the country without Leopold Bloom, significantly. And you may find that a little unusual, but you have to realize that they haven't had sex in 11 years since the death of their son, Rudy. He was born and he died, I want to say he was only 11 days old, so that's a significant plot point that only slowly emerges through the book, through flashbacks and memories. Now, why does Leopold Bloom he knows about the affair, and he actually seems to almost arrange it because he can't be intimate with his wife. So that's going to be something that just slowly emerges, and finally in the Circe chapter it's going to come out full blown, all these unconscious things that are going on in their heads throughout the day. So finally, late in the night, after Stephen and Leopold have had adventures through Dublin throughout the day, they're going to return home. Molly is going to be there and know that they're arriving really late. She's going to be awake as well. And then finally the book concludes with her monologue, which is one of the most famous monologues in fiction. So yeah, that's the gist of the story. It's a very typical day in which a lot happens, in which not much happens, but for these characters, I think it's a very significant day. So we'll talk more about the plot and stuff later on, but that's the general path. Two characters start, Stephen and Leopold, they intersect, they almost meet several times, they meet, and then they head home, and Molly is there. And then after that, Stephen decides to leave. He could stay and sleep on our couch or whatever, but he decides to leave, and that's the mystery. That's one of the puzzling events, is what happens after the events of this book. One of the puzzling events, one of the puzzling ideas that scholars and critics love to discuss and talk about. We'll talk about it more too, but I just want to give you a general overview of what this book is about.